Well, welcome to this conversation, and I have my friends Aaron and Nick here, and I'm grateful for you guys joining us together and to share your story, to share kind of what Jesus has been up to in your own lives through your friendship. But first, just to let people get to know you, can you just introduce yourselves? Who are you? Who do you love? Aaron, we'll start with you.
Sure. Aaron Gonzalez, born and raised here in Sauk Valley, Rock Falls, my whole life. Of course, I love my wife and kids, Julie and Bryson and Avery. Regularly attend New Life with me, so it's a lot of fun. And obviously, my good friends. Nick is obviously my best friend for years, best man at my wedding. Um, yeah, that's kind of long and short of it, I
Yeah,
suppose.
great. Thank you, Aaron. And then what about you, Nick? Who are you? Who do you love?
My name's Nick. I've been here, Rock Falls, my entire life as well. I love my boy Tater Tot, as I refer to him, but it's Talon. My dog I love, and of course, my friend Aaron, as he so eloquently put earlier. Yeah,
Yeah. Now, you guys said that you have been friends for forever. What does that mean? Like, how
Kindergarten.
old were you when
Yeah,
you first met?
yeah, kindergarten. So what are we?
yeah.
You don't need to
So
out yourself
five.
and how
Yeah,
old you are, but since 5 years old,
right.
Yeah,
was this in school, live on the same street? How did that happen?
it was in school actually.
Yeah, we
I
both
still
attended Thome School, and when it was still, K through 5, I think at that point. So, yeah, Thome School in Rock Falls is kind of where we met and became buds. And then, of course, we played all the t-ball and little league and all that stuff. We did all that crazy stuff. He was a way better athlete than I am, though. So,
And so you guys grew up together. And like
mhm.
you said, Nick, you were in Aaron's wedding and stayed close kind of through all that. And then I was talking to, oh gosh, I think I was talking to you, Nick, after church one day, and you said something that piqued my interest. And I said, okay, well, then I think more people need to hear this story. And the thing that you said that piqued my interest was we had been friends since 5 years old, and we had never talked about the Bible or church. And then one day, I was going to call my friend Aaron, and I was nervous. Can you pick up the story from there and just tell us why were you nervous?
yeah. Well, Aaron's always been my confidant. It's always like, hey, am I overreacting? Am I underreacting? Am I right? Am I wrong? I can always go to him with an answer or with the problem. He can give me the answer that I most likely should follow. So I was, I guess, just at the bottom of a very dark time and started reading the Bible. So I called him up and I was, it's like, hey, man, been reading the Bible lately, and I'm thinking about going back to church. What do you think? And it was one of those sort of like, oh man, is he? Since this day and age, you don't talk about that. It seems almost like it's almost frowned upon, or how would I say it? It's not like in schools. Our whole friend group went to church, and nobody talked about
Right.
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you
So
usually,
it's very
you make
weird.
the joke that when you bring the family together for Thanksgiving, you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, right? Like
Mhm.
that
Right.
Right.
totally is a thing. Now, Aaron, when you got that phone call, what
Mhm.
went through your mind? How did that hit you when Nick called you that day?
I was driving because I drive a lot, went for work, but and I remember getting the call and he brings it up and I could tell he was nervous. And I'm like, what is he so nervous about? Like he tells me everything. They can't quite possibly tell me something that's just gonna, ruin my whole world or change everything. And he's just started talking a little bit about it, and I was like, okay, all right, well, it pure coincidence. That was the first weekend that I attended New Life. Was that Sunday before? As I mean, I've been to New Life through the concerts that we do with Peabody's and that kind of stuff. And I've been around, and I told you, Drew, for years. I'm like, I'm coming. I promise. We had a close tie elsewhere, and but it was time, and I had attended for my first time, and I remember specifically, Drew, you said to me, I go, I'm just here to kind of check it out, and he's like, well, this seems like a pretty safe place for you to do that, and that was what you told me, and I sat on the left hand side, by myself in a row, and everybody was pretty welcoming, and I knew so many people that were there already. But yeah, and then that same week, I mean, it was that Sunday, and I think that this call happened maybe on a Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, somewhere in that range. And I could tell he was nervous to talk about it. And then he was like, "Well, I'm thinking about going," and I'm like, "I'll tell you where to go," like, because this is what I think I'm going to do. I mean, you know what it's like, Drew. Attending church with your friends is everything. I mean, to be surrounded by people you trust and that view things the way you do. But yeah, I could tell he was quite nervous. But
But
I think,
there's a wrinkle in the story though that you told me, because he said, "Hey, I think I want to go to church." And
mhm,
then you said, "Well, I just started going to New Life. You should go to New Life, but I won't be there this weekend
correct.
because
Yeah.
you were going to be gone with family for a travel soccer thing that was already
Yep.
scheduled ahead of time." And
Yep.
so I think you were maybe hoping that he would wait a week or something to come. But
Right.
then, Nick, you ended up coming that weekend anyways.
Yeah, it was a little nerve wracking. Not really, though. I mean, I've been to church before, so it's kind of the same song and dance, just,
Mhm.
you know. And I was actually, it was real interesting because I was looking for any reason not to continue going. If I'm
Right.
being honest, it
Right.
was like, give me a sign, Lord, that I'm not supposed to be here. Pretty much, you know,
But
show me that this is not real.
he did call me that morning. He was in the parking lot, and
Yeah.
he's like, well, I'm in the parking lot, and I said, then go in. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're waiting for.
Yeah, I just
Just,
need that last little push, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and here's the thing that I love, and I want to point out, because I mean, we've been talking here at New Life for a while about the fact that God actually wants to work through us to reach the people who are near us, and oftentimes, and I grew up in the church too, and even when I like before I was a pastor, learning how to be a pastor, all that kind of stuff, it feels like a scary high bar of what does it mean to like reach people or like share our faith or things like that. That feels weighty and scary. And I don't know like why. I don't know what we've been taught or learned, but everyone I talk to, it feels weighty and scary. And yet the thing I want to point out is just the simplicity of like a lifelong friendship. And when the time was right, God just made that conversation just happen. And the reason I know that it was God that made the conversation happen was exactly what you said, Aaron. It was the timing.
Mhm.
You're like,
Yeah.
wait, this is the first time we're ever talking about this. And it just so happens to be when I am like starting to get engaged
Mhm.
in a new faith community with my family, and I'm getting excited about it, you know? Because I would assume about you, Aaron, because it's true about me, is certain times in my faith journey, I've been less excited. And
Right.
certain times I've been more engaged and more excited. And so of course
Right.
God times it to be in a time when you're in a leaning in, getting involved, excited season to be like, and now we're going to have this conversation happen. And then Nick has the boldness to say, well, if my good buddy Aaron says it, then I guess I'll give it a shot. You get all the way to the parking lot. Last little bit of maybe I can get out of this. Aaron, who's not there that day, he's probably on the side of a soccer field or driving
Driving. Yeah.
somewhere across the state line, says, go inside. You and I meet that day. And that was a really cool thing. And now here we are, months and months later. I want to say that was last fall, so
Yeah.
probably now more than 6 months
October.
later, maybe 9 months later.
Yeah.
And the story isn't over there though, because then over the course of the fall, Nick, you and I are talking after church a couple different times, and it seems like God is doing something in your life. So tell me how you remember that, of what God was doing that then kind of led you to get interested in baptism.
So many, I don't know if people like believe in signs and that he will send people to just bombard you. And it almost felt like some spiritual warfare there too in my life going on. And so, the more I read and the more I got involved, I just thought, well, this would be, a great way to show my faith and present to everybody like he
Yeah.
calls us to do. So,
What were some of the things that you were getting involved with at first that was kind of helping you feel connected?
let's see. Well, just being able to show up every Sunday at church. That's a good thing. And of course, when Aaron's there, it's helpful.
Hmm.
It makes it easier than like Bible studies on Mondays. That was great and helping me understand. And I was just hungry and thirsty. I mean, there's probably not a podcast out there that I wasn't consuming that
Yeah.
involved Jesus.
You
and
said that you had gone to church before. Can you tell me just a little bit, just in your own words, um, like how long had it been since that was a serious part of your life, or had it ever been a serious part of your life? What makes this season that Jesus has you in? What makes this different?
let's see. Trying to think. It's probably about middle school I stopped going, but I mean, probably since birth till about then is when we were involved, and grandma and grandpa were in the church, and great grandma and great grandpas were both pastors in the church. So yeah, I just felt like when my mom and dad got divorced and church kind of flew by the wayside and on the back burner and wasn't real, you know, it wasn't a focus anymore. We'll just
So
put
that
it
was
that
early
way.
teenage years, and
Yeah.
then fast
And then
forward a
life
couple
got
decades.
busy. Yeah.
Life gets
Life
busy.
got busy. I had a kid,
Yep.
just living life and, you
And
know,
then you start feeling like that pull inside you to
yeah,
read the Bible again. I think I'm supposed to go to church. You do get
yeah,
connected here at New Life. You
yeah.
start coming every week,
Every week.
getting connected on Sunday, showing up to Monday night Bible study with Pastor Phil, learning more, but also getting to know other people. And then somewhere along there, in the fall, we were talking a lot about baptism and people being called to baptism. And you talked to me and saying, "Hey, I think I want to get baptized."
Yeah.
And number one, that's a really cool thing. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure was for you to recognize, but also just for our church to recognize, because we're all just learning this still, is that God works in those miraculous ways, but he works through normal everyday people to do his miracles. And so that's when I was like, who is someone in your life who's been used by God to help bring about this faith? And you told me Aaron.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does that kind of like mean to you, that like it feels like God has worked through Aaron?
Yeah. Just, he's my rock. So he's always been there, always been, you know, someone, a pillar of support that I can go to. So it's he just it
Mm.
felt like almost like pushed me in a way because yeah, I was asking him where we'd go, and I remember having the conversation where he's like, "Oh, I think I'm going here," and it was like some point it's like, well, sometimes it's not about going to church like for yourself. It might be for the person that's sitting next to you,
Mm.
and that's why you're there.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
that
I think
that's
I
kind of
Go
I
ahead.
think what could be kind of lost in this whole situation and what's happened in the events that have transpired is, yes, I helped push Nick, right? But at the same time, Nick has pushed back on me a little bit too. There are, he'll constantly ask me, well, did you pray about that? Constantly. And and we have good conversation about, my journey, where it's at and, where I want it to be. And I'll tell him often, it's not where I want it to be. He's like, well, then what are you doing about it? you know, you know, and so, yes, Nick had this journey. He wanted to make the move, but I don't think if he had opened up the conversation as much, I wouldn't be pushed as much, to be reading more of the Bible daily or look, reading and listening to some of the podcasts that Nick has mentioned. He's always like, have you listened to this one? Have you heard this one? Have you heard about this guy? And things along those lines. But, yeah, it's Nick's faith journey, but it's my faith journey and it's your faith journey, Drew. And it's everybody around us that are also on this journey. My daughter coming to church with me on the weekends and Bryson and my wife and it's everybody. It's not just myself or Nick or it's really changed. I mean, the fact that I can call, and same thing with him. He's the same way. If I need something, I need to call somebody. If I'm thinking about something and I'm awake at 1:30 in the morning, I'm messaging Nick, you know, and he'll answer. I'm like, "Are you awake?" And he'll be like, "Yep. What do you need?" You know, like, and maybe he wasn't awake. Maybe he was sleeping, and the phone pinged, and he woke up. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's been a journey for, I think, all of us,
I
all of us
appreciate that
as we
you
move along.
mentioned that, Aaron, because one of the things that I was, trying to kind of like ask a little bit of like, what was that like, Nick, with Aaron, kind of God working through Aaron, and you saying God working through Nick back, is both of you have mentioned this, is what I didn't hear is I didn't hear either of you practiced a sermon and delivered it to each other. I didn't hear either of you like develop a 3-page outline of the perfect Bible study that you're going to like help that person in. I didn't hear either of you say, yeah, I had to like go into a prayer closet for 3 hours so that I could like go and like lead this person in prayer for 3 more hours. I didn't hear these things that sometimes it feels like the stories we make up in our heads of like what we have to do of these spiritual things. What I heard was a lot of just normal, everyday being a friend, listening, caring, being there for each other. And maybe you realized in the moment, but it sounds like you definitely realized after the fact of how God worked through those regular conversations to actually grow both of you. And that's worth mentioning. That's worth pointing out of how God works through regular friendship.
Mm-hmm.
He works through like regular phone calls or text messages or, hey, here's a crazy podcast I just listened to. It kind of hit me. It would be interesting to hear if it hits you. Not even saying, here's how it hit me and I hope you, right? Like say, and just trusting the process. It sounds like in doing that, because you guys already had a good friendship, God just worked through that good friendship to do what he's been doing in both of your lives. And Aaron, I appreciate that you said that too, of being like, it has not been a one-way street. This has been a two-way back of helping me grow and helping me think and helping me take more seriously. And so I'd love to hear maybe from you, Aaron, either leading towards when Nick was saying, hey, Aaron has been really important in my faith journey. I'd love him to be involved in my baptism, but also kind of in what you were saying of how that has then inspired you, empowered you. What was that like these last few months?
It's been great. I mean, it really has. First of all, I felt incredibly honored that he even would want me to be involved in that, and I was like, "Are you sure?" Like me, and I think Drew, when you brought it up, hey, he'd like to do this, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, and I didn't hesitate. I immediately said, "Yeah, absolutely. I would also 100% do that." I mean, I wouldn't say no. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's changed our friendship, obviously. I think for the better. I mean, we have a good friendship, a great friendship as it is, and but now we're adding another layer. Like we had, we've been through some stuff, the both of us, and we've been by each other's side. But now we can point back and go, okay, what does it say? What does Jesus say about this? What should, and he'll throw something to go read this, or something along those lines, um, and he'll just text it to me. It doesn't even have to be, and like you said, it doesn't have to be an hour-long phone conversation. It can just be a quick text message. The other day he sent me, "Hey, how you doing?" That's it. That was the text message, and I could unload, 3 paragraphs if I want to. But it's those simple little check-ins, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's been great on my journey. My daughter is very engaged at this moment, and I will take her everywhere she wants to go. Bryson is more engaged. I think it's really helped. I mean, but once we talk about at church where the more adults that are involved in the kids' lives, better it is for them as well. So them seeing Nick there, my friend, then they're kind of trying to now they've made friends at New Life, and hopefully we all grow from it.
Yeah. One of the things that I remember, I think sitting and talking with you, Aaron, at one point was is before you got to help be in the water with Nick and help baptize Nick into the family of God. It's right before that, and I think we said the phrase of like, oh, so Nick was your one before you even knew what a one was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you were reflecting on like, yeah, this is, you know, he's been my friend for forever, and I've been on my own journey of faith and always kind of thought of him and like cared about him and wondered how to reach out to him, you know, and it's like that's the language of the one, you know, of who's this person who's close to you, but they feel far from God, and yet we know that God wants to reach each and every person. And sometimes, you know, scripture gives us examples of when like Saul is on the road to Damascus and it's like a blinding white light. It's like direct from Jesus himself. And then after that, Jesus works through regular people to continue the process so that Saul becomes Paul and all that kind of thing. But like sometimes it's direct from God himself. And it kind of it sounds a little bit like Nick, you had some direct from God inside your heart. I think I'm supposed to read the Bible again and I don't know why. I think I'm supposed to go to church again and I don't know why. Like, you know, and through regular everyday people, and like that's how God works. He works through us to reach our ones. So kind of last question for you guys is as you've been kind of in this stage of your journey, because you know, even though it was so incredible and exciting to celebrate baptism with you, Nick, and for Aaron to be a part of that, you know, of like Aaron baptizing your one, you know, of like that was incredibly exciting. That wasn't the end of the story. Like that was a milestone, and we still have the faith journey keep going. So as faith journey keeps going for each of you, and either one of you can go first, where are you right now? Where's Jesus pushing on you, or what's Jesus kind of like rising up in you as far as like a next step of like where he's calling you to either, you know, trust him deeper, or to experiment with reaching out to even other ones, or to just go deeper in prayer? Kind of where's Jesus pushing on your heart right now?
That's a great question. Now, I think for me, it is 100% getting more involved in getting my family involved in the process, you know, in being part of something bigger than us. Um, so I would say that that's what's pulling on me a little bit, you know. And I'm a very I've been involved with directing theater and stuff like that in the time too. So I think I want to get involved in maybe some mentorship stuff as well as we go. I think that that's the direction I'm getting pulled. Um, it's one of those things where I feel like I have a long journey to go yet in my journey. You know, I want to be more confident in my faith before I can, you know, maybe help and project some of that onto others. So I think working on me and my family, and then seeing what mentorship looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful that God didn't wait for you to get more confident before he connected you and Nick. So, yes, I understand that. And yes, absolutely, we want to keep growing too. And God has a pesky way of working through us in spite of ourselves sometimes. But what about you, Nick? Where's Jesus pushing on your heart right now?
Let's see. He's really had me like reach out to other people and just like if you see any shirts that I wear all day, every day, like been really God related lately. So that's probably Holy Spirit, you know, telling me, yeah, go ahead and buy that shirt. And so like I've been reaching out to just random people, like either people that see me and they're like, hey, I like your shirt. And it's like, oh, really? Oh, what do you believe? You know, and then I can talk to them that way. Or even people at work that I know, and it'd be like, hey, you know, your name's in the Bible. That carries weight. What do you think it means? Well, you know, and if they don't know about it, then well, here's the story of, you know, the person that's at your name. If you get bored, questions, come ask me. You know, that sort of deal. So I feel like he's having me reach out to people, just everyday life.
Does that feel natural to you, or is this new?
Uh,
Are you
yeah,
like the
no,
most
definitely
extroverted
new.
person?
No. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've been in isolation for like the last 2, 3 years. So for me to be out there just talking to people just blindly about faith is a new experience for real.
Yeah, I know we talk about transformation a lot in New Life, of like Jesus transforming us. That sounds pretty drastic, you know? And that's like kind of one of those things where, and sometimes it puts us out of our comfort zone. But I mean, I love the way that you even just said it, of like, hey, here's this thing. If you have questions, come talk to me. It doesn't sound like you cornered them for 3 hours. It's like, hey, here's this thing. And then like balls in their court. And also we're going to trust that God's working through that. And we'll just see how that comes back, not having to hold so tightly. Well, I'm encouraged to talk to both of you guys. I hope that this encourages other people, just to hear again of how a lifelong friendship truly, truly, truly is and was the seed bed for the trust that God works through. You know, I heard someone say once that God works through relationships at the speed of trust. And so if I think that God's going to work through me to reach one of the baristas at the coffee shop I always go to, it's not going to happen if I have no relationship. And it's definitely not going to happen if I've been a jerk, because there's no trust there, right?
Right.
Like, oh, well, come on, God, aren't you just supposed to like work through this? Like, well, God often works through relationships at the speed of trust. And since you guys had such a deep relationship and such deep trust already, wow, amazing to see what God's doing. And now, Nick, you're talking about, hey, here's some relationships that I already have. Some of them are better than others. Some of them are just like more acquaintancy or coworker, but there's still a relationship there. Let's see if God works through it. And so I hope that this encourages people. I hope for any of you listening that this encourages you to even just reflect on who are the relationships in my life and how is God wanting to work through that. But thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Nick, for being with us today. And thank you for being with us also, and praying for you as you continue to follow Jesus.